ATI request by completing the application form on the ATI site or sending a letter or email. And remember, you don't have to say why you need it. It is your right to know. Make sure you send your request to the right agency, and once they confirm receipt, they get 30 calendar days to provide the information, a maximum of 60 if extra time is needed. Yes, I know you want access to everything, but sensitive documents are protected from the public for up to 20 years. For example, documents that would expose a citizen's personal privacy, or those dealing with cabinet discussions, the Governor General's office, or information on the investigative activities of the security forces. Any public officer who tries to destroy or hide any official document can be sanctioned. And if you're having difficulties, the ATI unit will help. So, what if the chemicals in the mosquito spray are toxic? What if the agency did not even try to get back the money they paid out? Call or email your MP. Share the concern, because as your elected representative, they can represent your questions to the government ministers in the House. Remember, it is the job of parliamentarians to monitor and hold the government to account on your behalf. Is not every country gives citizens this kind of power, you know? And at 20 years we have this law, and we barely use it. So access information and mind your business, Jamaica. Visit jampja.org today to see what information we access to make it easier for you to hold the government to account. Let's do our job to make Jamaica land we love, Jamaica land we own, and Jamaica land we run well. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Almighty God, by whom alone kings reign and princes decree justice, and from whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom, and understanding, we thine unworthy servants here gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our concerns. And grant that, we having thy fair always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the result of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the king, the public weal, peace and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, and true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
You may be seated. The honor is mine to welcome everyone to today's sitting of the House. It is indeed a great pleasure to see our colleagues today, Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024, for this meeting of the Honorable House of Representatives. I would like to extend special welcome to those joining us via the various social media platforms, including PBCJ live stream, and for those who are here in the gallery. Call of the roll.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Holness, Dr. Clark, Dr. Chang, Ms. Grange, Mrs. Williams, Mrs. Malahoo Fort, Dr. Tufton, Mr. Mackenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Mr. Charles Jr., Mr. Green, Mr. Warmington, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Terry Long, Ms. Smith, Dr. Dunn, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Main, Mr. Davis, Mr. Witter, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brownberg, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Cousins, Ms. Crawford, Ms. Daly, Ms. Davis, Mr. Golding, Mr. Graham, Dr. Guy, Ms. Hamilton, Ms. Hannah, Mr. Enriquez, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lawrence, Ms. Lee, Mr. Miller, Mr. Montague, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Samuda, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Siblis, Mr. Slowly, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, and Mr. George Wright. Thank you, Madam.
House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today we will go through the agenda items. It's a very short sitting today, and I will ask you, Madam Speaker, to take the items. Thank you.
Members, the agenda items we will quickly go through, and we will therefore, House Leader, require recommittal for the one item on the agenda today. We are in fact waiting on the printing office to submit for us the fourth supplementary estimates, which is why we delayed a bit. So printing office said just about here, a minute away. Beautiful, wonderful. Minister will be here in 1 minute. So, statement by ministers, we have none. Announcements, do we have any announcements, Clark? Reach another line.
Laid on the table of the House are the following. Minister Paper numbers 04 and 05 of 2024, entitled Cabinet Agenda Issues, dated September 4, 2023, and September 18, 2023, respectively. Annual report of the National Environment and Planning Agency for the financial year 2013-2014, along with its related minister paper numbered 06 of 2024. Annual report of eGov Jamaica Limited for the financial year 2022-2023. Corrigendum to page 48 of the annual report of the Auditor General's Department for the financial year 2022-2023, tabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, January 16, 2024. Jamaica Public Bodies' third supplementary estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year ending March 2024, dated January 2024. The fourth supplementary estimates for the financial year 2023-2024. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees. Beautiful. Notices of motions given orally. Minister Clark.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I'll move the following motion. Be it resolved that the fourth supplementary estimates for the financial year ending 2023-2024 and the Jamaica Public Body's third supplementary estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year ending March 2024, which were laid on the table of the House on the 23rd day of January 2024, be referred to the Public Administration and Appropriation Committee of the House of Representatives for consideration and report. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Thank you, Minister. Questions? Questions and answers to questions. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. House Leader.
What is the member?
There's a question standing in his name.
Well, House Leader
Yes,
had indicated that. House Leader had
So House, I best do it right here. For questions and answers to questions, if on the agenda there is none, I will move to the next agenda item. What I would recommend that we do as it relates to the standing orders is have our discussions with the House Leader. As Speaker, I am very much in favor of ensuring that we start following up those persons based on the time limit allowed for them to answer the questions. Because what I find, particularly members of the opposition, each time come and argue that there are questions standing in their name that are not being responded to. So there is a time limit, and what I would want us to do going forward so that we can hold those who have questions to respond to accountable to do so is to start monitoring a schedule of the time allowed, verify that the time has elapsed, and follow the standing order in terms of having a meeting with the person who asked the question to determine the additional time, if any, that should be granted.
Madam Speaker, with all due respect, that response is totally unacceptable. The standing order clearly stipulates what the obligation, not favor, of the minister to whom a question is asked. It's an obligation. And as this person in charge of the House, as you have reminded us many times, it's your duty to ensure that the standing order is adhered to. And therefore, those who are responsible must carry out their responsibility and not selectively. Further to what you said, Madam Speaker, if it is the case that the minister is not able for whatever reason to answer the question, it is the duty to approach the member, not the other way around. It is not a favor being asked. We can't choose to apply the laws and the rules selectively. It brings this House into disrepute. And Madam Speaker, you don't want that to remain under your leadership.
Member Jackson, I am not going to ignore him. Member Jackson, I have brought significant order to the House since I have assumed this chair as Speaker. As it relates to questions and answers to questions, I have been in the Parliament for 7 years and observed that nothing is different in the way we operate in respect of questions laid on the table and the extent of time it takes to respond. As Speaker, I have taken it as my duty and have met with the House Leader and have gone over outstanding questions and have asked that the Minister responsible to answer those questions do so within the necessary time. And outside of the Parliament, a vigorous effort has been made to follow up on outstanding answers to questions. I don't just leave it to the opposition to defend themselves. It is done by the Speaker. Acting House Leader, I would not have spoken to, but I have in fact gone through with House Leader, which has actually resulted in many of the questions standing in various persons' names being responded to because they were past due. Now, and Member Jackson, I want to come back to you because I want to find the exact section of under questions and answers to questions as it relates to how the House should proceed in the additional time and the discussions to be had in respect of further time, which I recall all right, so members, today being a short sitting, we'll use the opportunity to read the Standing Order 17A as it refers to deferral of questions. And particularly pay attention to subsection 2 as it relates to extension. A minister seeking to defer answering a question shall hand to the clerk a written request, therefore, which explains the reason why the answer could not be supplied in the time required, and if the House is satisfied with the explanation, the House may extend the time for answering by a period of not more than 14 clear days. The procedure specified, as read above in paragraph 1, shall apply to any further extension required by the minister. However, that in such case, consent to such extension and the length of time thereof shall be obtained from the speaker and the questioning member. However, if there is no agreement between the speaker and the member, the matter shall be determined by the ruling of the speaker. Where an answer to question has not been supplied within the time required under said paragraph 2 read above, this shall, subject to any recommendation to the contrary, on reference to Committee of Privileges, be regarded as being out of order. I read this section and remember the contents, even though I didn't remember exactly what was the subsection. So, Member Jackson, and for those persons who continue to push to have their questions answered in the shortest possible time, and in keeping with the standing order, you have the full support of the Speaker in making every effort to have that done. Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business.
Madam Speaker, we thank you for reading that section of the standing orders. But we just found it unfortunate that you use the term push, members who push to have the questions answered, because I believe that the provision in the standing order, that particular provision, is a strict position. So you have 21 days to answer, and it's not a push when we have members here for months. Right, and we appreciate the support that you're giving, but Madam Speaker, it is crucial that the person who asks the question be in constant consultation with to get approval for any deferral.
You're not correct, though, opposition.
It says the speaker.
No, it's not within 31 days. It's not within.
21 days.
No, so it's no sooner than 21 days.
Yes, yes.
And I'm saying to you, House Leader, my reference to pushing is because I am taking my own duty as Speaker very seriously.
Yes.
I was responding to Member Jackson's statement. I am not doing him any favor. I am required to do my job as Speaker.
Yes.
So I'm not doing him a favor.
Yes.
And in executing my job, because I have observed how we have functioned for at least the last 7 years I've been here, I have gone one step further, which is to approach through the House Leader that he takes on the responsibility of having discussions with the ministers, because our practice has been to just have it sit there. And so I do not wait until members who have questions in their name come to argue that the standing orders be maintained and that persons respond within the time required. I have literally been on my own campaign to try to have that done. Yes. And that is new. So I'm advising Member Jackson in response to his question and the statement that he made, that it is not that, it is business as usual.
Okay. And Madam Speaker, just to be clear, that the questioner is going to be the one that both yourself and that person will consult to make sure that in the timeline that is given by way of an extension, that approval is granted. Okay.
No, which is why I read the entire standing order. So I definitely have no challenge. I believe that the way we should conduct the House going forward is one in which we make every effort to stick to the standing orders. And you have my support, members of the opposition, in doing so. And that's why we've started that process.
In light of what you have just said and read from the standing order, can I be guided on how much more time that the minister to whom the question is directed so desire? Because it can't be an indefinite. open-ended thing. So if I could get that answer, I'd be grateful.
You wouldn't get that answer immediately, Member Jackson, which is why I made a statement, because, as I said before, I would not have had a discussion with Deputy House Leader, who is currently sitting in as House Leader today, but with House Leader. And I prefaced my statement with one additional control that we would like to have in place, one of having a schedule that speaks to the time when person's time has expired, so that they don't sit there feeling comfortable that all is well, and to have the House Leader champion in his own right with his ministers, ensuring that we have those discussions. Inside the Parliament would not be where we have that negotiation for the extension of time, and you will find, Member Jackson and other members with questions standing in your name, that you are going to find the Speaker calling you, along with the Minister and House Leader if necessary, to ensure that we resolve these outstanding questions and answers to questions.
Madam Speaker, I listened intently. The scenario you just outlined, I think more appropriately relates to motions, which are debated. And why I say that, Madam Speaker?
Member Jackson, no, Member Jackson. As it relates, I'm answering questions and answers to questions, and I'm not going into anything else, Member Jackson. No, Member Jackson, only question and answers to questions.
That's what I'm referring to.
Right, so I am sticking to questions and answers to questions.
That's what I'm sticking to also.
And if you do not believe it is a valid mechanism to assist in ensuring that ministers answer their questions within the time frame and within a reasonable time, conforming with the person who has asked the question, you can leave the statement as you do not agree.
Madam
and
Speaker,
not
as
speak
you
to
said,
any other agenda item.
I'm dealing with the one before us, question and answer. I made reference to clarify the point that I am asking a question to whom the minister is in the House, not the House Leader. The question is not directed to the House Leader. It's directed to the minister, and he is in the House.
Don't make I tell you what I tell you last time. Don't make I tell you what I tell you. No, I'm not locking it off. I'm not locking it off. Madam Speaker.
So the question Member Jackson is asking about is question number 8, Minister of Local Government. Question number 8. So Member Jackson is saying Minister is here, and if additional time is required, then a discussion needs to be had in respect of the question standing in his name for an extension of time in respect of these questions. So, Minister. You want to go first, Angela? Then
Madam Speaker, I will ensure I respond to the question within the next 14 days. Before or after your announcement?
Thank you, Member Jackson. Member from St. Andrew Southwest.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I listened to you carefully about the issue as to how responses to questions are to be handled. And I have one that should have been answered on the 18th day of April last year, almost 9 months ago. What I wasn't clear on in your explanation, you said that you would cause a schedule to be developed. I'm not sure whose responsibility it is. I'm not sure what is the time frame so that all the questions that have already been tabled, that a schedule will be drafted so we could monitor that. I am personally grateful to Member Jackson for having raised it so that you could actually come to the point where in the House that we would have a mechanism to monitor it far more appropriately than what is being done.
There is not necessarily a mechanism required in terms of scheduling, because the dates are here when members' questions should be responded to. But just to ensure that instead of absolute silence on behalf of the members who are required to respond to questions, and each time we come, it is the opposition or members who have questions standing in their name who have to keep asking, what about my question? What about my question? Is even outside of the sitting to make an arrangement with the member who has a question standing in their name as to what will happen. Because I think it is untidy that you have to keep coming and asking and not get a response, and it is just deferred. And that's what I notice, member from St. Andrew Southwest, where I started going through the list of questions standing in the name of various members, and I've actually had the discussions, forwarded the questions as well, and asked what is the status. And I would really love to see our long list, which has come down to 2 pages, coming down to current questions only.
Just to be clear, Madam Speaker, I thought you had said before that you would cause a schedule to be made based on the questions that are there and when they have been missed. I just want to make sure that I'm clear that that is what you have said, because I would like to be able to monitor, and I'm sure others would like to be able to monitor, you know, when it is due and what is happening, if there is an extension of time.
Exactly, member. That is the point. Because when it is due, is here on the question paper already. So what I would love to be able to do is to add another layer where we have a discussion, read the extension, and to document that extended time, which we do not have as a procedure currently. House Leader, I do not think I need to call on you again, House Leader, unless you so desire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for clarifying the way forward. It does not have to be a contentious matter here, right? The first day we're sitting, and we want to ensure that we leave here in good spirits. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thanks, House Leader.
Thank you.
Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice, motions relating to sitting of the House, motions for leave to introduce bills, presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained, public business. House Leader, over to you to close.
Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance will now take the supplementary estimates and table the supplementary estimates at this time.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Minister?
Madam Speaker, I now move, be it resolved, that the 4th supplementary estimates for the financial year ending 2023-24 and the Jamaica Public Bodies 3rd supplementary estimates of expenditure for the year ending March 2024, which were laid on the table of the House on the 23rd day of January 2024, be referred to the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives for consideration and report.
Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister?
Madam Speaker, as is customary in this table and the supplementary estimates, just a few words to narrate at a very high level the figures that are here. Madam Speaker, the 4th supplementary estimates tabled today for the financial year 23-24 for the central government, as well as the 3rd supplementary estimates for public bodies. As we approach the end of the fiscal year, we have taken stock of the performance trends of both revenue and expenditure, and this has culminated in the need for adjustments to the existing budgets of both central government and the public bodies. The central government's fourth supplementary estimates and the public body's third supplementary estimates reflect the required adjustments. The fourth supplementary estimates propose total expenditure of $1,091.8 billion, a reduction of $2.5 billion on the approved budget following submission of the third supplementary estimates. This reduction is mainly due to an estimated shortfall in revenues for the fiscal year as compared with the third supplementary estimates, which you'll recall raised revenues. The fourth supplementary estimates provides for the reallocation of resources from currently identified activities to other activities. In particular, where it is clear that current allocations cannot be spent over the remaining 7 weeks for spending in this fiscal year, those allocations have been redirected. The fourth supplementary estimates is comprised of recurrent expenditure of $302.2 billion, up $2.1 billion from $300.2 billion. Compensation of employees essentially flat at $404.2 billion as compared with $404.5 billion. Interest payments of $172.7 billion, up $2.6 billion from $170.1 billion. And capital expenditure of $59.3 billion, down $7.4 billion from $66.6 billion. Amortization of $138.6 billion, up $0.3 billion from $138.3 billion, and below the line non-debt expenditure of $14.7 billion, which is unchanged from the prior level. Madam Speaker, please note that the reduction in the capital budget is due to the slow pace of project implementation on some projects, particularly those that involve lots of coordination among many activities and lots of moving parts. And that has resulted in the inability to utilize the full allocations during the year. Contributing to the increase on the recurrent programs are transfers to a number of public bodies for a total of $2.3 billion. In addition to that amount, the NSWMA is being provided with $1.6 billion, which covers an advance of $400 million previously provided. This amount is to settle arrears and to support operations until the end of the fiscal year. The increase in debt service of a total of $3 billion is mainly due to higher interest rates on external variable rate debt. Under the fourth supplementary estimates, the targeted fiscal balance of 0.3% of GDP remains objective as the government continues its efforts to meet the medium-term debt-to-GDP target of 60% by fiscal year 2027-28. The public body's third supplementary estimates indicate the transfer of an additional $3.2 billion in financial distributions to the consolidated fund and the transfer of $2.3 billion from the central government to public bodies. Entities to receive funds from the central government are the National Water Commission, the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, the Transport Authority, the Jamaica Racing Commission, the Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Regulatory Agency, the National Export-Import Bank of Jamaica, the Students' Loan Bureau, and the Public Accountancy Board. Madam Speaker, it is proposed that during Standing Finance Committee meeting and the debate to ensue thereafter, more details will be provided. Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minister. Member from St. Andrew. The member from St. Andrew Southeast.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a number of questions. I know this is not the full debate, but I'd like the Minister to address these. The four supplementaries, as a result of a shortfall in revenues, could you indicate the line items where there has been a shortfall as opposed to what was projected? I am concerned about the reduction in the compensation of employees simply because I know there are still a number of bargaining groups, and I can name them, the junior doctors. We have seen the lecturers at University of Technology and the University of the West Indies. I'm told the Maritime Institute. There are still a number of critical agencies that have not settled as yet, and they are eager to settle. So could the Minister indicate how many of the public bodies are outstanding, and within central government, which ministries are still outstanding? I am deeply concerned, as I'm sure the Minister is and the entire House, about the under expenditure of $7 billion under capital expenditure. We have had a discussion about this in terms of the procurement process. We have had a discussion about the public investment management system. And it indicates to me, Minister, that there is something fundamentally wrong with how we are proceeding. While we want to protect revenues and ensure that things are done properly, to come at the end of a financial year and not spend $7 billion negatively impacts our economic growth. And we need to find out the reasons why we can't move projects more quickly through the pipeline to them being implemented. I don't know if the issue is a human resource capacity, a shortfall within the respective ministries, agencies, and departments, the length of time that the PIMS process takes, which I'm told is anywhere between 18 to 24 months before you can implement a project. I also want to know, in the allocation to NSWMA of $400 million, does this cover the 50 garbage trucks, which I heard the CEO indicate are being acquired by the NSWMA through direct procurement? And finally, could you indicate of the $3.2 billion that is being allocated to a number of public bodies, what is being provided to the Jamaica Urban Transit Company of that total, and what is the schedule for us to get the additional buses which have been promised and committed? I like that. I notice you go downtown for the first time. You need to spend a little more time down there.
Thank you for allowing the little remarks that I made, and for the member from Southeast and Andrew to respond. It's important, as these figures are being placed in the public domain and everybody's seeing it at the same time, and the narration, I think, is important so that we don't have any gross misunderstandings. And so I appreciate the questions that were asked. The first question on, so the fourth supplementary is relying or assuming or projecting revenue estimates that are slightly less than the third supplementary estimates. You asked the question about, I referred to a shortfall vis-a-vis the third supplementary estimates. That was in a number of areas, not in one area. There were one or two instances where we know a payment that was due that hasn't come in yet, but it's across the spectrum, across in particular, there are three areas: income, and there's income, and then production and consumption, and then international trade. In international trade and production and consumption, those two areas in particular. Income, there's no meaningful reduction, but across those two. On your second point about compensation of employees, there's a slight change from 404.2 billion, 404.2 billion, down from 404.5 billion. I wouldn't characterize that as a reduction. That's more of a rounding in the context of a figure as large as 404 billion. What we have, though, is a number of rebalancing across the system. The exercise is a very complicated and complex one, and you'll have cases of some agencies sort of overestimating, other agencies underestimating. The fact that the estimate is round about the same is a good thing. Now, with respect to the question about entities who have not settled or outstanding, the compensation restructure, the first phase of it, is for the most part, complete, with the exception of a few entities. Some of the matters that you've been referring to have to deal with the second phase, to do with the restructuring of benefits and allowances. So the entities that you mentioned, those entities is public information, there were photographs and signing ceremonies. They have signed on to the compensation restructuring. But after dealing with the salaries and restructuring the salaries, the restructuring of benefits is now under discussion. So we're making progress in the sense that we're now moving on to discuss items that we were not discussing in 2023. And so if that may stand for now. With respect to the capital under expenditure, I would ask member that I know it's easy to kind of single out the PIMS process. That's not the reason for this under expenditure. The under expenditure here is of approved projects. Projects that have gone through the PIMS process are approved and are under execution. It doesn't make the financial problem any less, but the explanation is important. So this is execution-related CapEx, and the items that are, it's public information. The items that are behind are items like the Essex Valley Agricultural Project, the NIDS project, and they tend to be, those are kind of projects that differ from, let's say, a highway construction, where the moving parts as far as government coordination are less. With a highway construction, you have a single counterparty who you are disbursing against certificates. And as long as the certificates are prepared, disbursement happens. With some of these other projects, it's a number of moving parts, a lot of things that have to happen for the next step to occur. And sometimes there are timeline slippages. I know that every effort is being made on both of those projects I mentioned, but things happen that result in delay, and the government is certainly doing its best to improve on execution, but it's clearly a challenge, and a challenge that we don't shy away from admitting. It's a challenge that comes from some amount of success in that the capital budget is increasing relative, faster than the recurrent budget, and the absorption capacity on the execution of so many projects needs to be improved. We can discuss this more in the debate itself, but I just wanted to point out it's not on the PIMS, these are projects that have been approved and are with ministries for execution. With respect to the allocation for NSWMA, no, that allocation is not for the 50 garbage trucks. We had allocated, and the deposit for those garbage trucks has been paid. They're not going to be ready to come in before the fiscal year, so the balance will be paid in the next fiscal year when the trucks arrive. I'm happy, though, to say that even though CapEx is down by $7 billion, we're able to introduce some new items and, rotation of CapEx. And I'm happy to say, Madam Speaker, that the deposit of which Minister Vaz has been speaking, the deposit of just over $400 million for the 100 garbage trucks. Buses, sorry, let me say it again. The $400 million deposit, Madam Speaker, for the 100 buses is in the fourth supplementary estimates. Which means that, and I'm going to use the timeline that you have given, which means that by June of this year, Madam Speaker, June, July, we'll have 100 new buses in the JUTC fleet right in time for back to school. No. So, Madam Speaker, with respect to, no, those arrive already. With respect to the, with respect to the, no. Madam Speaker, you say I must not respond to such a voice comments. It's very tempting to, though. It's very, very tempting to. We have a plan for 300 buses, Madam Speaker, over the next 3 fiscal years, the first 100 of which is slated to arrive with the payment of this deposit by June, July of this year. The final question was the 3.2 billion? Right. No. That's different. That's 400 million on the capex side to the ministry. With the money being provided to public bodies, there's just over $300 million for JUTC to finance the temporary reduction in fares for the remainder of the fiscal year, so until March 31st. Madam Speaker,
No. Just a follow. In relation to the reduction in revenues on the production side, would you attribute that to the impact that the increase in interest rates are having in the productive sector? Would you say that's a contributing factor to some of the reduction that you're seeing in revenues on the tax side?
So, Madam Speaker, through you, the reduction in revenues that I referred to earlier is as compared with the third supplementary estimates. Remember, we tabled the third supplementary estimates in October, and we had, that time, a huge uplift in expenditure of $55 billion. So this adjustment in revenue here is just to be seen as a correction to those third supplementary estimates. That's one way of looking at it. The numbers that we're reporting for the shortfall, the overall shortfall for the full 12 months in the fourth supplementary estimates as compared with the full 12 months for the third supplementary estimates isn't sufficient for us to make that kind of conclusion. It would seem to be more related to the huge uplift in the third supplementary estimates, which is just being modified here by a small amount in the third supplementary estimates. Okay. Madam Speaker, with that, I ask, Madam Speaker, that the motion be approved? I believe it has been, but the PAC will meet, had a dialogue with the chairman of the PAC, will meet next Wednesday, January 31st at 10 a.m. to consider the supplementary estimates, the four supplementary estimates for the central government, and the third supplementary estimates for public bodies. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now ask for the recommittal of the item statement by ministers.
The question is that, absolutely. If you realize I met with the leader of opposition business, so Prime Minister indicated he had a statement. That's not what I said. That's absolutely not what I said. Members, question is recommittal of statement by ministers. The Prime Minister will make a statement. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing the statement. But I'm sure, Madam Speaker, that all members would be very happy to hear this statement. Madam Speaker, the purpose of this statement is to update this Honourable House on the shared prosperity through accelerated improvement to our road network program, the SPARK program. I would think it might be your fault. As members would be aware, the SPARK program is a $40 billion program designed to revitalize secondary, parochial, and community roads across the island within the next 3 years. The primary goal of this program is to address the persistent deterioration of the country's road network, enhance mobility, safety, and accessibility while promoting economic development and improving the overall well-being and road experience for local communities and businesses. The SPARK program encompasses various improvements, including targeted enhancement to road surfaces and intersections, installation of localized drainage and culverts, bolstering road safety through retaining walls and guardrails, and implementing pedestrian facilities at selected locations. Madam Speaker, a crucial element of the SPARK program involves a fair, transparent, and accountable process for identifying and selecting the road projects to be implemented. The success of the program hinges on collaborative efforts and active engagement at both the governmental and community levels. It is imperative that the people, represented by their elected officials, play a significant role in the identification and selection of projects. Given the mandate of the Constituency Development Fund, the CDF, in fostering community empowerment and promoting socio-economic progress, it is deemed an ideal vehicle for conducting the consultative process through which suitable projects for the SPARK program will be identified. Madam Speaker, the CDF has therefore been instructed to facilitate the formal consultative process for the SPARK program. Members of Parliament, through the CDF, will be asked to organize community consultation by Parish Council Division with the active involvement of the relevant government agencies to include the SDC, municipal corporations, the NWA, NWC, and the JCF, as well as churches, schools, and businesses. These consultations aim to collect recommendations on the roads to be repaired and their priority order. I anticipate that this consultative process will conclude by the end of March 2024, presenting a prioritized listing of potential road projects organized by constituency. This is to facilitate the streamlining of the project implementation process from project conception to execution. It is important that this be done, Madam Speaker, because when MPs delay in responding and sending in their projects, it creates rippled delays throughout the process. This is not to say, Madam Speaker, that it is only MPs that delay the process. But if MPs do contribute to delays, we want to take that delay out of the process. So by the end of March, all recommendations which would have gone through a process of consultation should be in to the agency tasked with execution, that agency being the NWA. That will ensure, Madam Speaker, that we can have, I'm going off script now, but in anticipation of questions to come, but this will ensure that the other elements of the execution and management of the program can be done in a timely fashion. So we can have batching of roads instead of roads going one by one. So that way, Madam Speaker, the program can work more efficiently. So to the question from the member from Eastern St. Catherine that raised about another program for which you are still awaiting. We are trying our best to structure the program to avoid these kinds of delays. So, Madam Speaker, I am directing the cooperation of all MPs and the relevant state agencies in having these consultations being done in a timely fashion, utilizing the resources of the CDF. Every member of Parliament should have a CDF officer and a liaison officer assigned to the constituency. Please utilize those resources to assist in organizing the consultations division by division. Consultations are not new to us as MPs. All MPs are required to conduct consultations for the use of the CDF in any event. And therefore, what we are doing now is to ensure that for such a large project that will have so much public attention, where there are so many interests at play, that all who have an interest should be able to have a transparent mechanism through which their views and perspective can be brought to bear on such a large public allocation for such a very sensitive issue as road repairs. Madam Speaker, the overall budget, as we had declared in our budget speeches last year, both myself and the Minister of Finance, is that a total of $40 billion will be allocated overall to the Spark program over 2 years. We were very clear when we made the allocation that there are some roads that would be directed by virtue of considerations such as traffic flow, the interconnectedness of the road to business and to urban areas, main roads. Those roads will be dealt with separately, particularly because those roads would require the implementation of not just resurfacing, but if we're going to do those roads, we would likely want to change water supply, sewage, put in proper drainage and culverts. So we have split the program into two. So $20 billion would go to those main roads, and those would come now from a kind of national assessment done by the NWA. But we have reserved $20 billion now that will be at the direction of communities and MPs and councillors coming together in this consultative process to deal with roads that are local and community roads that may not require the kind of infrastructure development. So for example, Madam Speaker, if we're going to upgrade a main road or even a highway, the level of preparatory work for that and the contracting process for that could elongate the time to delivery. So those roads will be dealt with separately. But for the community roads, which may from time to time require resurfacing, the installation of small culverts, possibly the replacement of maybe small water pipes, those can be easily packaged and contracted for quick and efficient execution. And that's how we are dividing up the program, Madam Speaker. So we are going to allocate $20 billion to be allocated to constituencies as follows. Approximately half of the $20 billion for constituencies, for local roads and parochial roads and community roads. Approximately half of that will be divided equally per constituency. So $10 billion will be divided equally per constituency. And that is to preserve the principle that has well been established in this House, that all constituencies are equal in the House. 10 billion, yes. I understand. And, you know, members, you know, I'm sympathetic to the other views expressed. But you will understand the long-standing principle of equality of seats in the House. So $10 billion will be divided equally. I see the member from West Rural had a heart palpitation because she thought I said 10 million. $10 billion will be divided equally amongst the constituencies. That will result in approximately 150 million per constituency. Approximately that. The remaining 10 billion will be allocated to constituency based on the mileage of roads in each constituency relative to the total number of roads or total mileage of roads we are repairing. So that gives now the equity issue, because some constituencies have more mileage than others. So obviously, Madam Speaker, the government must retain a certain percentage of the overall to deal with special cases that we probably didn't think of when we were making the general rule. So we have to leave a reservation to deal with special cases, and that reservation will be declared as soon as we have established that. I should take this opportunity to say, Madam Speaker, that we have given directives to the Ministry of Local Government and the NWA to update their register of roads so that we can get an accurate total of the mileage of roads that we have. It is often said that Jamaica has the second most miles per road, miles per square miles. We have the second most roads per square mile, if that makes sense. In other words, so per square mile, we have the most roads. And I think Japan is number one, but that may have changed in recent times. But though we do maintain a standing register of roads, which we are required to do by the various laws that require us to have roads assigned to various authorities, they may not always be accurate and up to date. New roads have been built, roads have been decommissioned, so that is going to be up to date now, updated now, and we will use that to help determine the allocation per constituency by the miles of roads in each constituency. So that, I believe, adds the fairness and equity issue to the distribution. Madam Speaker, the success of the SPARK program will rely on the active involvement and cooperation at both the government and community level. I'm confident that this program will bring about positive and transformative changes to our road networks, contributing significantly to the overall prosperity of our communities. And Madam Speaker, I want to thank the members in advance for their prompt and diligent conduct of the consultations, which must be complete with recommendations to the NWA by the end of March 2024. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, I want to begin by associating myself with the comments made by my colleague from Eastern St. Catherine, the Sotawatcha comments about the last $40 million program. I consider myself to be a diligent MP, And when that program was announced in November 2022, I reached out to my NWA officer a couple days after you spoke here. I went with him myself and identified the roads in my constituency that I wanted considered for the $40 million project. The estimates were done probably 2 weeks after I went on the road with him. I was asked to identify contractors, which I promptly did, and I sent the name of 5 contractors. Now, we are in January 2024, and through no fault of my own, my projects have not started. And I have done everything on my side that have been asked of me. There have been times when we have been told that a contractor, whether the TCC or the NCC expire, and have to resubmit the names. I've done that 2 or 3 times. But I have responded at every juncture to any issue that has been brought to my attention by NWA. Now, I raise that because I have constituents who said to me, I see some people fixing Old Per Road, why my road can't fix? And I'm at pains to indicate that I have done my part as MP, and for, if you want to call it the bureaucracy, has not been able to get the project started. So I believe it's important to hear the concerns of colleagues, and I know colleagues on that side have told me the same thing, so it's not confined to us over here. The delays have been problematic for us. So the first question I would ask in relation to this new project is, how do we plan to deal with the procurement process? Given the difficulties that we had with the 40 million, given the challenges that NWA has in terms of shortage of procurement officers, etc., how are we going to ensure that we don't make the same mistakes? First question. Second, you have said that the consultation must take place before March 2024. Completed. Now, we anticipate that the member from West Kingston will make an announcement soon in relation to local government elections. It's difficult to have those consultations during that period, and we move straight into the budget debate, which some of us are participants in. So again, I consider myself diligent, but to properly organize, and I'm fortunate, I only have 2 divisions. Some people have 4, some people have 5. To organize properly, and you said consultations that the CDF will oversee. So it's not me go up on a corner and talk to 2 youth and them tell me that. To properly organize that is difficult before the end of March. Very difficult before the end of March. So while I appreciate that you want, and I want the projects to start and to get going quickly, I'm just saying you may compromise the integrity of those consultations if you push people to get it done by March, before March 31st. Given the budget debate and given that we may have a local government election. Because these, well, we expect one, right? I don't know if you have different plans, right? But we expect one. You can tell us, all right? But the reason I say that is, that's what you want, Carl? do you speak on behalf of that side? No, and I say that seriously, because what you don't want is the quality of those consultations to be compromised. You have to give people proper notice when you're having a meeting. You have to ensure you invite the community-based organizations, the churches, etc. Those things take time. It's not something you can just do on the fly. So I'm asking for consideration for that. My third question relates to the 63 at 150 is about 10 billion, right, of the 40. When would MPs know the basis of allocation based on the mileage per thing? Because I would want to know whether I have 15 billion to spend or 20, sorry, not 15. If I have 150 million, I want to know if I have an extra 50 or 100. So when I have the discussions, I can say, all right, we can. So what I would want to know is, how soon would NWA be in a position to tell us as MPs when these, what the allocation is? And the final thing I would say, Prime Minister, is important that we manage expectations. I know you're in a period of announcements, right? Yeah. You're in a period of announcements, all right? You have broken more ground in 2 weeks than in the last 8 years. But hear me. but hear me now, seriously. is important for our constituents listening, because tomorrow morning the headline is going to be 40 billion allocated to constituents. And every one of our phones going to start to ring, and people are going to say, I want my road fixed. I hear you get a bag of money, MP, for fix the road. We need to manage those expectations as to when is this project going to be fully implemented in the fiscal year starting April 1st? Okay. Let's just manage those expectations that we are not inundated with constituents who believe there's going to be an immediate fix to the problems that they have.
Prime Minister, several mics are on. So members, through Prime Minister, I would like to find out, since you are going to be answering the questions posed on the statement by Minister, whether you would like the two remaining members, to ask their questions. You take the note, and then when you stand, you respond to all. Or would you prefer to answer one by one?
Madam Speaker, I will answer the first set of questions, and then we could take other questions together.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I wish to express appreciation for the questions asked by the member from Southeast St. Andrew. They are important questions to assist in what he has raised as a concern, which is how do we manage the expectations of the country. There are those who will hear 40 billion and interpret 400 billion. And there are those who would seek to mislead and misrepresent. The only way to do that, Madam Speaker, is for us to have the debate in this House, where this is the public square, where everyone can have reference to what is the actual figures that have been approved and allocated. So, in response to the question, what are we going to do? We are going to ensure that at every step of this project, there is transparency, that the public is informed, and that it is not just information going on the airwaves, but there is a process for community dissemination of information through a consultative process. We are very cognizant that such a massive allocation can create all kinds of political challenges. And we are trying to avoid that. We want to learn from the lessons of the past and at the same time build our democracy to ensure that the citizens have a say in how public allocations are directed. So this is the start of it. This entire process of consultation will ensure that any misrepresentation, any irrational expectation, or any deliberate misrepresentation is properly attenuated and managed. So that's my response to you, this process of consultation. The other issue is related to your constituency and the $40 million program, though you did not ask specifically, but you raised the issue. Member, the report I have here is that one of your contracts is signed, is awarded. Yes. So I'm not certain if work has started, but it has been awarded. So you're very close to actual implementation. And in terms of your other contract, because I see you have two roads, the nominee that you have sent in was not either eligible or interested. So you need to submit another set of nominees. I'm giving you what I have on the report. Right. Now, just to be clear, Madam Speaker, I am not here in any way trying to convey to the public that the process of implementing the $40 million, which was allocated almost 2 years ago, was a seamless one. We met up on significant problems. One to do with staffing and resources at the NWA. Secondly, Madam Speaker, issues to do with how timely the projects were submitted. And thirdly, Madam Speaker, the procurement process itself was quite cumbersome. We have learned, well, let me put it this way, Madam Speaker, we have studied the shortcomings of that project, and we are trying to make sure that we correct those shortcomings in this project. One methodology you asked about how we're going to treat with procurement. Before you treat with procurement, member, we have to treat with project selection. Then we have to treat with project preparation. Some of these projects, or most of them, would have to go through the public investment process. No, if we properly package them together and spend the time in preparation, we can get through the process. You and I know that the institutions that we have established to ensure the proper running of government, we can't change them and divert around them for our convenience. We have to become far more efficient in the way we operate. Clearly, if the rules don't make sense, then we have to change them, and we are in constant review. But the first point of reaction can't be to avoid the rules or circumvent the rules. And I think all members here understand that, so we have to wrestle with it. Yes. Then the other issue is the recommendation for contractors. We are developing a program, I really don't want to say too much about it here, that will address the whole issue of availability and quality of work of contractors. And in another statement to come, I will deal with that issue. And if we are able to get the projects through in bulk, through project selection, through project development, through PIAB, then we can go to procurement in batch rather than singly or as the projects come through from the MPs. And that is one of the new strategies that we're trying to put in place to ensure that we meet the timelines that we set for ourselves. We want, and I'm sure you want, the project to start implementation, roads being asphalted and repaired in the coming financial year. Yes, yes. Now, if that is our target, as you had said, boys have to go through this, then it could be 2 years, which is why, MP, I understand your original point, which is the time from now to March may be considered too short, but bear in mind, it is almost 60 days. It's 2 months. You have the entire February you can use for preparation and the entire March that you can use for consultation. That was the thinking behind it. So we want to keep a tight timeline on it so that we can go through the other processes so that we can actually start implementation in this year. And I therefore urge members to, yes, acknowledge it is a short period of time, but I have supreme confidence in all members here that if we put the effort and focus, we can achieve it.
Member from, hold on. Member from North Central St. Andrew, you're required to wait your time and turn on your mic so that you can ask your question at the appropriate time. The button to turn on your mic is to the right. He will not be getting deference. Could you please assist? Thank you, member. The persons, the member from North Central St. Andrew, you are required to ask your questions in sequence. The order in which you turn on your mic will indicate when you will be allowed to speak, and you are third in line.
Thank you.
First, oh, no, please take your seat. Member Hilton, please take your seat. The first member to ask questions will be the member from St. Andrew Southwest. Please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Just a few questions, Prime Minister. I heard your responses to the member from Southeast St. Andrew. The last time I referred to the $40 million program, you told me you were in the same company as me. Obviously, you no longer are. And I just want to say I have done everything. Prime Minister, the program sounds like a good program. I'm going to tell you where I am right now. I am a doubting Thomas. I am a doubting Thomas as it relates to Southwest St. Andrew, because that has been my experience with this $40 million program. So my question, first of all, the last time, after you had the announcement and we were all gung-ho, we heard about a number of strictures, and you did not go into those details. I believe that those details are important in terms of the scope, yes, so that we are clear. I don't want us to go when we are doing the consultations to hear those, and we didn't hear them here, because expectations are around that. So that is one.
Member, I just caution, please, questions. Direct questions.
Now, what I will ask them. In terms of the process, when we did the health program, there were too many organizations to pull together. I know CDF is asked to be a kind of coordinating figure, but I'm concerned about how we are going to get it done so we can actually, across all of the constituencies, 15 in Kingston and St. Andrew, have them scheduled in time.
Member, respectfully, member, please pause. Questions are asked at this stage, not statements, not responses, not responses. Ask direct questions which are not embodied with contributing additional information that is not a question. So please ask your questions directly as questions.
Madam Speaker, I will try, I'm trying my best to ask the questions directly, but I don't know, maybe because I'm past primary school, I want to be able to formulate a question that is complete and makes sense. That's what I'd like to.
Member, in keeping with the order you would like to have in this parliament, where you are afforded the due respect in keeping with the standing orders to be able to function as a member of parliament in the legislature, the speaker is going to abide by the rules. When your questions are being asked, what is happening is persons take the opportunity to make a statement with their question. I am not understanding what 15 constituencies have to do with the question you're asking. So, ask your direct questions without embellishing. And the teacher has no problem reminding members that that is what is required. So members who will be asking questions going forward, the speaker has discretion as it relates to the amount of questions, and if persons continue to ask questions by making statements, then the strictures will be more stringently adhered to and exercised by the speaker.
My third and final question, Mr. Prime Minister, is really around what you quoted as the requirement of per division. If I look at my division, for example, I don't need 3 divisions. I don't need 3 different meetings, because there's one venue that can hold both. And therefore, I am asking
Member Brownberg, member from St. Andrew West, please take a seat. Member, the question is, are we allowed to have 1 meeting for the constituency? Are we expected to have meetings by division? The way questions are being asked are spending a substantial, it is not for the Prime Minister to respond. It is for you to ask your questions properly. They are questions. No.
I am to speak now.
No. You are the practice.
I guess she will call on me.
Members, the practice of asking questions in a way that we make a speech is not in keeping with the standing orders. Members, no, it is not allowed, and it is not in keeping with the standing orders. And I know that over time, persons have gotten into this practice where we ask our questions by making a long statement. I am absolutely correct, members. And the reason I'm spending the time to do this is because it is repetitive and it is disrespectful. It is not in keeping with the standing orders. Going forward, pose your questions as questions. And it does not require that you embellish by giving such wide reference that goes way beyond asking a question. The member from St. Andrew Western.
Prime Minister, could you clarify for me the administration of the program, because it involves both the KSMC or the parish councils in the case of local road, community roads, and NAA. Is it that NAA and parish council, they will work together in the administration, or is it simply that this is an NAA administers program simply? That's the first question. Secondly, registration of the roads. The roads, the updating of the roads on for parish council. Is there an involvement for the MPs in pointing out those roads, or that is strictly an exercise for the parish council to update those roads, and when will we be informed? If that is strictly an exercise for the parish council, when will we be informed as to what those additional roads may be?
No, that is a question. Those were two properly asked questions. And members, respectfully, this is an important statement by Prime Minister that affects every single one of us in the House. Please take a seat. Members, the standing order doesn't allow us to ask unlimited questions. And in order to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to be able to pose their questions, when members get up and make a statement, it prevents others from being able to ask their questions, because the practice for this speaker is going to be one in keeping with the standing orders to cut off after a certain number of questions. Today is one of the good days when we do not have a lot on the agenda. But there are days that we do, so this practice has to stop. We have to get into the order of asking questions. And the member who just sat, the member from St. Andrew West, will teach those who indicated that they're at basic school how to ask questions. The member from St. Andrew North Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, there seems to be, between myself and a colleague here, seems to be some confusion because you went through it quite quickly. The exact amount available to be engaged by the Member of Parliament at this time. The exact amount. There was some doubt in the minds of a couple of members who wanted to know what the figure was. We heard 20 billion, we heard 20 million, we heard 150 million. What exactly is the amount that's going to be available for the Member of Parliament to now enter into discussions on the projects that would be identified and submitted?
The member from St. Andrew North Central asked a proper question. Prime Minister, would you like to continue, or would you like to answer the set of questions asked, and then we continue with more questions? Absolutely.
Quickly for the member from North Central St. Andrew. We have not given a specific amount per constituency in this presentation. What we have outlined is a principle and what that principle could turn out to be at a minimum. We have established two principles. The first principle is the equality of all seats in Parliament. And based upon that, $10 billion will be allocated equally amongst all constituencies. The $10 billion divided by 63 comes up to roughly $150 million per constituency. As I said, that there would be a reservation for cases that we did not contemplate. So this is why I didn't give a specific. Right, so what we will do, Madam Speaker, is, and I probably should have been much clearer in the presentation, you will be written to from my office with the exact amount once the NWA and the local government have completed the updated register of roads. And that is being worked on now. I should have had it here with me today, but it's not complete, so I give them, yes, within a short space of time, we should have that. And then your additional allocation would be effectively your relative percentage of roads to all the overall total. Yes, so you can start planning with this minimum amount that we have outlined here, so that you are ahead of the game. All right, so I hope that is clear. So you could start notionally with $150 million. Notionally. It's next fiscal year, not it's fiscal year coming. So you will be written to, each MP will be written to in more detail as to how you should go about conducting the consultation. The question asked by the member from Southwestern St. Andrew, valid question. If you are going to be asked to do this by division, and we would want you to have the state agencies' representatives there, if you meant to say, how would each consultation be covered by the number of representatives of the agencies? My understanding of it, and this is a detail that we are refining, is that there should be enough officers per parish to conduct the consultations, provided that they are done on a schedule. This schedule would be under the overall direction and supervision of the CDF, which is why we didn't say to you, you do your consultation by yourself. It has to be done in conjunction with the CDF, so that the logistics of the representatives of the municipal corporation, the NWA, the NWC, that they can schedule them to be present at your consultation. So that is being programmed as we speak. Who is responsible for the allocation? The question from the member from Western St. Andrew. Is it going to be the municipal authority or the NWA? We were very clear at the start of the project that this is a central government allocation. It will fall under the management oversight scrutiny protocols of the central government, and therefore it will be an NWA project. It doesn't mean that you won't have interagency cooperation. In fact, it is highly likely that for such a project to be successful, there has to be this kind of cooperation. So there may very well have to be the establishment of MOUs and the like to have the project done seamlessly. Oh, no, as I said before, the scope and strictures, I will return to the House with other updates where those things will be taken into account. Sorry, so when you say the registration of roads, the NWA has to keep a register of the main roads, and the parish councils have to keep a register of the parochial roads, and these are being updated. Where we're going to have a problem, which I didn't want to raise, but since it is there, is the community roads. So there are several roads, housing scheme roads, which are on no register. They are not part of what we consider to be the road network. These are roads, some of them were built by government, but many of them were built by private developers. And they were never turned over. And sometimes, I've been to communities and people are quarreling about the roads. And I say, which road is this, a parish council road or an NWA road? They say, no, it's a subdivision road. It was never taken over by the parish council. And so this is an opportunity for us to start to look at it. I am not here saying that we have given directives as to how it will be treated with. I will come back to the House to give you directives. There are some areas that we have to clarify. For example, how would a road that is split between two constituencies be treated? So half is on this side and half is on that. So these are things we are working out. So when we write to you, you will be given those protocols, in addition to how we treat with the community roads.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There was during the JEEP program, there was a JEEP secretariat. I just wanted to know if it would be helpful that there would be a Spark secretariat as well that has some dedicated, committed responsibility for the execution of this particular project, just to get through it.
The member from
Thank
St.
you very
Mary
much,
Central.
Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, you answered some of the points that the question I'd want to ask, and you mentioned the community roads, NWA roads, and so there's one particular road that you have not mentioned, and it has to do with the Lands Department Road. Yes, there are some roads in this country which are neither NWA or Parish Council, Lands Department Road from in the 60s, and have not been taken, no, not even agriculture, not been taken over by RADA nor NWA or Parish Council. Will they be part of it? Because as you indicated, like the community roads, there are thriving communities within them. Will they be eligible for part of this rehabilitation?
Next is the member from East Kingston and Port Royal.
Will the Prime Minister state in relation to the existing 40 million program if there is sufficient funds to complete that program during this financial year?
Prime Minister will answer on the mic. And the member now from St. Catherine Eastern. Yeah. Turn your mic.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, could you say what percentage we will be able to do for this fiscal year in terms of money allocated? Yes, the sparks. And also if there's any consideration given for housing schemes roads.
Thank you, Member. Prime Minister, turn your mic on, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just quickly, the idea of a secretariat is not something that we are opposed to. We look at it in the grand scheme of things. Once it enhances the speed of and quality of delivery, we're not opposed to that. The idea, however, is that we have invested heavily in the CDF architecture. So we could incorporate that along with maybe other elements to just have oversight of the project. It is going to be huge, but we're planning it out such that it works seamlessly. That's the target for it. The issue of orphan roads, whether they are as you have pointed out, this new category which I was not aware of before, the NLA roads. And there may be some roads under sites and services and so forth, which were done in the 60s that were not taken over. I suspect those are the roads you're talking about. Yes, so the lands department would hold some of those lands, and therefore the roads would still be on their titles, if that could be the issue. Then there are the housing scheme roads, and those are the roads we loosely call community roads. So whether it is a housing scheme or a subdivision or something like that, and when the projects were completed, the parish council, for whatever reason, did not take them over. Oftentimes, it is because the roads were not built to specification, and sometimes the developers just simply did not apply to have the roads taken over. And some people develop them in gated communities, and then after a while, the closure is removed, and it is expected that these would become public roads. The process of a road becoming a public thoroughfare is a formal one. Not because you build a road means it becomes part of the government's responsibility. There's a formal process of the road entering on one of the registers that would entitle it for public expenditure. So this could be an opportunity to examine some of these roads, but you will get further directives because we need to have an assessment as to actually how many there are. And the consultative process is one good way of them coming to the fore. All right? In terms of whether or not there is enough funds existing within this budget year to complete the 40 million for each MT, my response to you is yes, once the projects are at the stage of execution and we are ready to actually implement, yes. So my answer in yes is that the commitment exists to have the $40 million road projects completed. So even if you don't do it in this financial year, it will go over into the next one. So the answer is yes. All right. Now, in terms of how much of the 150 or whatever it turns out to be you can do in the coming fiscal year, so the answer to you, I couldn't tell you that right now. What I need to know is actually how many roads come up. Then we can begin to plan what we can put through the other steps in the process. So it's important that this step of project identification is done efficiently and without any kind of delays which will cause ripple effects through the other elements of the process.
Member, you have a follow-up question?
Speaker, could I ask for a recommittal of announcements, please? I'd just like to find out the Integrity Commission report, which was sent to the Parliament yesterday, when will it be tabled in the House?
There is no need for recommittal of announcement. The ruling of the Speaker stands. Please refer to the ruling as it relates to the tabling of all reports from the Commission. House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is not contemplated for us to do any further business today. I therefore ask for the House to be adjourned or a date to be fixed.
Thank you, House Leader. Question is that the House do now adjourn for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This honorable House now stands adjourned.
And PBCJ is the place to watch them. See students from schools all across the island match wits and tackle complex issues affecting our nation. Watch as future leaders and thinkers solve problems with innovative arguments. Tune in on Mondays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. with a repeat on Saturdays from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Watch the national tourism debates on PBCJ, the People's Station.
You told me that I can be who I want to be. You say that I'm the future, free to rule my destiny. You said that if I work hard, I will succeed. You said my rights were protected, and I believe. You told me you'll be there in my time of need, but you didn't tell me of all this exploitation, selfishness and greed. I am somebody, part of a human family. I'm the future, can't you see? Don't turn your back on me. I am somebody, don't you leave me behind.
Yes, walk right over there and drop it in the bin. Reuse that wastewater from your kitchen for the garden. Get your hands dirty and plant a tree. Farmers, hold off on the pesticides, especially near our rivers. Do your part to protect our watersheds so we can preserve the source of our drinking water. Every act to protect our watersheds counts. Start now.
Child diversion in the Ministry of Justice is just our way of diverting children who are considered to be troubled, wayward, or children who just come into contact with the justice system. There are a few misconceptions about the program. One is that it's only bad children or children who always misbehave that come to the child diversion program. The program is here for children who make mistakes, as they will do because they are children. The other misconception is that once they are referred to the program, we are going to take the children away. That is not the plan of the program. In the best interest of the child, we try to ensure that they are around their family or the guardian that can support them to be rehabilitated. So they come to the program and they stay at home. As a matter of fact, most of them that come to the program don't end up at a facility for children. They stay at home and they complete the program there and they continue with school and everything that they would do. If you know of children who have come into conflict with the law, one way or the other, consider child diversion as an option.
What if they knew that you abused her, her family?
Mr. Jones.
And your colleagues, how will they look at an abuser? When the law comes knocking, you'll have nowhere to run.
Mr. Brown, you're under arrest. Please get up, hands behind your head and interlock your fingers.
Turn your back on abusers. Report gender-based violence to the police. There's no excuse for abuse. Call the Bureau of Gender Affairs at 876-754-8577.
Long, long ago, when the good king died, an evil sorcerer named Renwick claimed the crown for himself. Young Prince Dexter ran for his life into the great forest where the kindly wizard Phineas lived. That's me. Prince Dexter became my first apprentice wizard, preparing for the day he would be king. But magic can be tricky, as he discovered when a backfiring brew created 3 little monsters, Winkle, Gump, and Boo. Three magic monsters and a young prince. I call them the Little Wizards.
Here you go, baby. Good! Here it comes again. Ready? Good! Dodgeball! Dodgeball! Gump, move, please. We're playing. Bet you can't hit me, Rachel. Bet you can. Yeah. Can too. Cannot. Can too. Cannot. You have to go get it.
Okay, better stand back, Boo. This magic spell could be dangerous. Shinkle, shankle, shoot, shaboom!
Ouch! Boy, that spell is dangerous. Thanks for finding my ball, Mr. Dexter. Why are you sitting in the mud?
I I was trying to practice a new spell.
Yeah, but watch out.
It's supposed to change this old swamp into fresh flowers.
Ooh, let me see.
There's a slight problem, Winkle. The spell won't work. Watch. Shinkle, shankle, shoop, shaboom! Force this smelly swamp to bloom! See, I don't know what's wrong. I'm saying the right words.
Magic is more than just words, Dexter. You must believe in yourself. Then the magic will come from your heart. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, try again.
Shinkle, shankle, shoop, shaboom! Force this smelly swamp to bloom!
That's it.
We'll help you, Dexter.
Shinkle, shankle, shoop, shaboom! Force this smelly swamp to bloom!
It's working!
Very good, little wizards. You see, when magic is true, you feel it right here. Whiz-a-maroo! Sometimes you even feel it right here.
Hi, Lulu. Phineas said you had some chores for us.
Great, swell, terrific! It'll take a zillion years to clean up all this junk! Yeah, that magic really made me tired. Me too. Let's rest before we do the dumb chores. Hey, this is fun! I want to ride too!
Make it go faster, Gump!
Oh, goody! Well, hop on! Oh, I don't know.
Slow down!
Stop this! Mr. Dexter, I don't feel so good. Stop it! Where are we going? Yeah, where?
I don't know, but at this rate we should get there real soon!
Blimey! What's happening? We're under attack!
Are we stopped yet? Yeah, but stopped where? Uh-oh.
The castle! We have to hide the chair! Hurry!
Flying hooky from wizard school, are you?
Wizard school?
Come on, step lively or you'll be late. In you go.
Yes, I saw that. Oh, it tickles.
That was outstanding magic!
Thank you.
Now there's real magic, Phineas.
Phineas?
Leave them be, Renwick. Renwick?
Oh, relax. It was just a little joke.
Mr. Dexter, is it really them?
If it is, then we traveled a lot farther than I thought. We traveled through time.
See if you think this is funny, Renwick.
Phineas, I'll have none of that in my classroom.
Yes, Wizard Master.
Class, today's assignment is to return home and complete your magic projects in time for the magic fair this afternoon. How you do in the fair will be an important part of your grade. Especially your grade, Phineas Philodium. Phineas!
I hate Mr. Renwick, even if he is just a kid.
You're a bright young man, Phineas, but you're always disrupting the class.
But Wizard Master!
Unless your magic fair project is exceptional, you'll have to quit wizard school.
Come on, let's get going on our projects.
Maybe Wizard Master is right. I'll never be a proper wizard.
Yes, you will. But you have to stay in school to do it. Then, when Renwick becomes king, you'll be ready.
Renwick? King?
Phineas! You might as well quit school now, Phineas, because I will win the contest.
Don't count on it, Renwick.
You're new around here, so understand one thing. I never lose.
He's definitely up to something.
Oh, Renwick is always up to something. Come on, I want you to see my Magic Fair project.
But we should keep an eye on Renwick.
We'll follow him, Mr. Dexter.
Yeah, who's afraid of dumb old Renwick? I am.
Be careful.
It's me! Make that mistake again, and you'll spend the rest of your life as a snail.
Sorry. Mr. Renwick's coming.
I don't see anything, Fang.
Excuse me?
So, Phineas has sent you to spy on me, eh? And where are your friends?
No speaking to English.
Very well, then. I'll just turn you into an ugly, warty toad!
No! Wait! We're here! So don't hurt him.
That's better. Back! It's not time yet.
What's there? Don't ask.
Oh, just a little spell I cooked up especially for your friend Phineas.
What kind of spell? Don't ask.
A spell that will make him sleep for 500 years.
I told you not to ask.